Summer 1943. Camp Crossville, Tennessee. The brown fluid bubbling within the bottle mesmerized a German officer who had never seen anything like it. After a long time battling in North Africa, subsisting on difficult rolls and ersatz coffee, this sweet carbonated drink called Coca-Cola spoke into inconceivability made genuine. It fetched 5 cents from the camp canteen, the same cost Watches educated him that American children paid with their remittances. Over American jail camps that summer, 371,683 German PS would go up against a reality that negated everything Nazi purposeful publicity had instructed them almost American shortcoming. They found a country where ice cream was scheduled dessert, where delicate drinks were regular refreshments, where sweet bars were so common that Watches gave them absinthe. These basic nourishments, treats that most German children had never tasted, will methodically pulverize Nazi philosophy more successfully than any publicity program. The arithmetic of plenitude were being composed in sugar and carbonation, in chocolate and ice cream, uncovering an American mechanical capacity that rendered German hardship not respectable give-up, but unnecessary enduring. What started as a prize at American confections would advance into total mental change. The desert's conclusion. The Africa Corps' yield in Tunisia mid-May 1943 brought around 250,000 German and Italian officers into partnered imprisonment. These experienced Leave warriors who had pushed the British back to Egypt beneath Armel's authority anticipated cruel treatment as detainees. Nazi publicity had arranged them for American brutality and starvation. Inside hours of yield, they experienced American creations. These field portions, which American troopers routinely complained almost, contained treasures: saltines, handled cheese, sweet, natural product bars, moment coffee, sugar tablets, and cigarettes. German officers who had survived on negligible proportions for months treated these crisis suppers as feasts. Concurring to military records, at the preparing camps in North Africa, the U.S. Armed Force served flapjacks with syrup, new eggs, and drained nourishments that had vanished from German military proportions a long time prior. The efficient nourishing of adversaries with prevalent nourishment started instantly, in spite of the fact that its mental effect would, as it would be caught on afterward. A German officer afterward affirmed to Universal Ruddy Cross, "We anticipated to be starved as detainees." In step, the Americans bolstered us way better than our possessed armed force had. This perplexity, almost American assets, started our instruction. The Freedom ships carrying POWs over the Atlantic in summer 1943, given seriously instruction in American plenitude. These vessels mass-produced at uncommon rates, one completed each 42 hours at crest generation, transported up to 30,000 detainees month to the joined-together states. Maritime records appear that detainee proportions on board these ships coordinated or surpassed standard group arrangements, around 3,500 calories day by day, counting new bread, meat, vegetables, and coffee with sugar and drain. The ship's refrigeration frameworks, standard gear on American vessels, kept up new nourishment all through the two crossing. Most astoundingly, recorded accounts affirm that ice cream was served on different events amid Atlantic intersections. The USS Common MB Stewart's log from July 1943 records serving ice cream to detainees on July 4th, utilizing the ship's ice cream creator that created 10 gallons per clump. For men who hadn't seen ice cream since some time recently the war, the solidified dessert within the center of the sea resisted understanding. When ships docked at ports like Norfolk and Newport News, German PSWs experienced in America that Nazi purposeful publicity had announced inconceivable. The Norfolk Maritime Base, covering 4,300 sections of land with broad waterfront offices, dealt with more cargo day by day than major German ports overseen week after week. At the harbor trades, shops for dock laborers, detainees seen racks supplied with sweet bars from major producers like Hershey, Damages, and Settle. Military acquirement records from 1943 appear these trades supplied handfuls of sweet assortments, offering them at standard costs, 5 cents for most sweet bars, the same cost charged over America. The travel inland by prepared given encouraged instruction. Not at all like the cattle cars utilized for transporting Europe. German PSWs traveled in traveler coaches. The eating cars served full dinners. Reported menus from July 1943 appear for fricasseed chicken, vegetables, pie, and coffee. P.S. found this was an uncommon treatment, but standard American rail benefit. The jail camp framework developed over America housed PWS in conditions that surpassed Geneva tradition prerequisites. Camp Crossville, Tennessee, ordinary of the bigger offices, included electric lights, hot water, flush toilets, and warm sleeping enclosure. But the camp trades, the PX stores, conveyed the most profound effect. Concurrent to Armed Force officer records, camp trade supplied different delicate drink brands, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Dr. Pepper, RC Cola, different sweet bars and confections, ice cream where refrigeration allowed, cigarettes and tobacco, new natural product and snacks, lager, 3.2% liquor substance. Detainees earned 80 cents day by day for labor, afterward raised to $1. With sweet bars at 5 cents and Coca-Cola at the same cost, a day's wage might buy 16 things plenteous past German creative ability, where such items, in the event that accessible to all, required uncommon associations. Coca-Cola got to be the image of American mechanical majority rule government. The Coca-Cola Company's wartime generation come to momentous levels. Company records appear 5 billion bottles created in 1943 alone. The military contract ensured 5-cent Coca-Cola to American servicemen around the world, a commitment requiring exceptional coordinations. German detainees found that this delicate drink, obscure to most sometime recently capture, was omnipresent in America. Each camp got in normal conveyances. Work points of interest watched distributing machines and coolers all over gas stations, manufacturing plants, schools. Americans of all ages and classes drank it casually, disposing of half-purged bottles without thought. The standardization shocked, in fact, disapproved detainees. Coca-Cola tasted indistinguishable whether expended in Maine or Texas, a deed of quality control surpassing anything German industry accomplished. The syrup concentrate fabricated in Atlanta and dispersed across the nation to bottling plants spoken to mechanical coordination that challenged Nazi suspicions approximately American chaos. Chronicle records from the Coca-Cola Company files affirmed that numerous jail camps got in week-by-week conveyances of 200 to 300 cases, each containing 24 bottles. Camp Hearn, Texas alone, devoured roughly 7,000 bottles week by week amid summer 1943. Ice cream in American jail camps appeared incomprehensible to Germans who hadn't seen it since sometime recently the war. However, Armed Force records affirm that ice cream was routinely served in camps with satisfactory refrigeration amid summer months. The military considered ice cream basic for resolve, so imperative that specialized ice cream ships were built for Pacific Armada. At Camp Shelby, Mississippi, the July 4th, 1943 celebration included ice cream made on location. Detainees observed as hand-turned coolers delivered gallons utilizing ice, salt, cream, sugar, and flavorings. The casual utilize of rare assets, ice in July, cream, sugar for excitement nourishment, illustrated needs Germans couldn't understand. By 1944, numerous camps had electric ice cream creators. The assortment accessible, chocolate, vanilla, strawberry, butter pecan, surpassed what German ice cream parlors advertised sometime recently the war. Detainees may buy ice cream bars for 10 cents, ice cream sandwiches of the same cost, or glasses of different flavors. Armed Force acquirement records appear that bigger camps requested 50 to 100 rankle of ice cream week after week amid summer months. The recurrence changed by area and season, but detainees routinely delighted in the solidified extravagance that had vanished from German life. Sugar utilization in American jail camps conveyed a especially effective effect. In Germany, sugar was entirely proportioned. Civilians got in 280 gram month to month when accessible. In American camps, sugar sat in bowls on work corridor tables for boundless utilize. Officer records from 1943 to 1945 appear camps getting 100-pound packs of refined sugar week after week. Camp pastry shops utilized sugar generously. Cakes, treats, and pies showed up frequently on menus. The mess corridors sweetened coffee, tea, cereals, and sweets without confinement. One recorded occurrence from Camp Aliceville, Alabama, outlines the differentiate. In eminent 1943, muggy climate solidified a few hundred pounds of sugar, making it troublesome to utilize. Instead of steam and recuperate it, as Germans would have kitchen staff dispose of it and requested substitution supplies. German detainees working within the kitchen were allegedly troubled by this squander. American chocolate utilization designs uncovered law-based wealth. Major producers Hershey defaces. Settle created millions of bars month to month in spite of wartime confinements. The military alone acquired 380 million pounds of chocolate items amid the war a long time. Jail camp trade supplied numerous chocolate assortments. The standard Hershey bar, Dattayens, Crisis chocolate bars, and different sweet bars containing chocolate were accessible for 5 to 10 cents. Detainees found Americans had inclinations among chocolate brands, casually choosing one over another. Ruddy Cross bundles conveyed month to month to detainees included chocolate bars among other things. The American Ruddy Cross records appear that standard packages contained chocolate or sweet bars, 2-moment coffee, handled cheese, saltines, canned meat, cigarettes, cleanser. These bundles supplemented standard proportions, giving extravagance things that surpassed what German civilians gotten as essential proportions. Thanksgiving 1943 presented German detainees to American occasion plenitude. This simply American celebration illustrated national coordination of utilization that overshadowed German organizational endeavors. Armed Force record affirmed that all jail camps served conventional Thanksgiving supper broiled turkey with stuffing, squash potatoes and sauce, sweet potatoes, cranberry sauce, vegetables, pumpkin pie, coffee, and drain. The coordinations required giving turkey suppers to 425,000 PS millions of American servicemen around the world showcased organizational capacity. The truth that German detainees got in the same feast as American officers emphasized correspondence of treatment that negated Nazi racial chain of command. Christmas 1943 brought unforeseen liberality from American civilians. Church bunches, civic organizations, and people sent bundles to German POWs. The American Companions Benefit Committee alone disseminated 50,000 Christmas bundles to faux detainees. These bundles ordinarily contain custom-made treats, sweet toiletries, diversions and books, cigarettes, composing materials. Neighborhood communities closed camps frequently given extra back. In Tonkawa, Oklahoma, towns individuals conveyed handcrafted treats to German detainees at Camp Tonkawa. In Hearn, Texas, church bunches brought Christmas treats and sweet to Camp Hearn. The civilian benevolence toward foes challenged Nazi belief system in a general sense. Americans who had family individuals battling against Germany by the by appeared charity to German detainees, illustrating quality through kindness instead of retaliation. As labor deficiencies heightens, German POWs worked progressively exterior camps, seeing American nourishment generation firsthand. By 1944, around 100,000 detainees worked in horticulture and nourishment preparing, picking up insinuate information of American plenitude. In Michigan plantations, detainees picked cherries ordained for maraschino generation, those shinning garnishes topping ice cream sundaes. The volume amazed them. Single plantations creating tons of natural product for enhancing purposes. At canneries, detainees watched quality control that rejected flawlessly eatable nourishment for minor defects. Del Monte records from 1944 appear that around 15% of natural product was rejected for canning due to measure abnormalities or minor imperfections, ordinarily occupied to creature bolster. Sugar beet preparing in Colorado and Nebraska uncovered agrarian mechanization past German accomplishment. Single ranches delivered more sugar beetheads than whole German districts. Detainees learned that American sugar generation from both cane and beets come to around 7 million tons every year, clarifying the casual wealth they seen. German detainees working closed schools seen early forms of organized school lunch programs. Children got in hot snacks counting drain, protein, and vegetables. The National School Lunch Act would formalize this in 1946, but point of reference programs worked amid the war. The drain program especially inspired German spectators. Numerous schools give a new drain, children day by day. The coordinations of day-by-day conveyance to thousands of schools illustrated organizational capacity that Germany couldn't accomplish from military supplies. A few school cafeterias advertised ice cream for extra buy. The concept of children buying solidified pastries at school, whereas German children confronted nourishment deficiencies, made significant effect among detainee spectators. When least security detainees ate at American burger joints beneath Protect, they experienced equitable plenitude. These little eateries advertised menus that would have graced tip-top German foundations, accessible to anybody with humble reserves. Archive costs from 1944: a pure cheeseburger 25, Coca-Cola 5, pie cut 15 cents, ice cream sundae 25, full supper uncommon 65 to 75. The balance of benefit, anybody may arrange anything, negated German social stratification. A production line laborer and bank president ate indistinguishable dinners at adjoining counter stools, served by the same server for the same cost. As detainees picked up Get-to American distributions, they found generation measurements that overshadowed German endeavors. 1944 American generation reported figures: sugar around 7 million tons, chocolate and cocoa items 380 million pounds military alone. Coca-Cola 5 billion bottles 1943 figure, ice cream over 500 million gallons, drain 119 billion. German generation same period. Sugar intensely apportioned basically from beets. Chocolate military need, as it were. Delicate drinks, negligible generation. Ice cream for all intents and purposes non-existent. Drain extremely apportioned. These numbers distributed transparently in American media illustrated that America's wartime generation surpassed Germany's PCM crests. By late 1944, German POWs were sending nourishment bundles to Germany instead of accepting them. Utilizing camp compensation, detainees acquired American items to mail domestic chocolate bars, Moment coffee, canned merchandise. Worldwide Ruddy Cross records affirm this inversion. German detainees in America sent roughly 11 million packages to Germany amid their imprisonment, most containing nourishment things. The effect on German families getting American wealth from detained relatives, whereas they confronted starvation and opportunity, significantly undermined Nazi philosophy. American apportioning executed amid the war uncovered the inlet between social orders. Americans complained approximately sugar apportioning of 2 month to month per individual, more than triple the German remittance when accessible. American meat apportioning at 28 ounces week by week per individual surpassed what Germans got month to month. Indeed, proportion, Americans kept up utilization levels. Germans considered incomprehensible extravagance. The Office of Cost Organization records appear Americans obtained 74 of sugar per capita in 1944 in spite of proportioning, 10 times German utilization. Past Coca-Cola, detainees found America's delicate drink industry. Pepsi Cola, Dr. Pepper, RC Cola, Orange Smash, and territorial brands competed across the country. The assortment itself, different companies creating comparative items, illustrated showcase wealth incomprehensible beneath German-controlled economy. Bottling plants worked in each major city. The innovation, carbonation, bottling, capping, labeling was standardized and productive. Single plants delivered millions of bottles every year. The dispersion arranged come to each little town, gas station, and basic supply store. American delicate drink generation come to billions of bottles yearly. By war's conclusion, handfuls of bottles per American citizen annually. This single industry's yield surpassed whole segments of German customer production. Spring 1945 brought the ultimate blow. As American powers progressed through Germany, German PS in America observed newsreels of GIs disseminating chocolate and gum to German children. These children's bliss at accepting American sweet, their claimed government, couldn't give completed the ideological pulverization. The differentiate was stark. American officers progressing through adversary domain carried sufficient sweet to allow absent, whereas a German state that guaranteed triumph conveyed starvation. Movies of concentration camp liberations appeared American troops sharing portions with skeletal survivors, illustrating humankind toward casualties of the administration German warriors had served. Between 1945 and 1946, German PSWs returned to a crushed country. Numerous detainees had picked up critical weight in American confinement, whereas their families misplaced weight to starvation in German opportunity. They brought information of plenitude to arrive of supreme shortage. Therapeutic examinations appeared German PS by, and large returned more advantageous than when captured. They returned to families debilitated by hardship. This physical proof of American bounty versus German hardship was irrefutable. Numerous detainees brought last Ruddy Cross bundles domestic, chocolate, coffee, and canned products that got to be family treasures. Children who had overlooked chocolates gotten Hershey bars from fathers who had eaten ice cream frequently in jail camps. Previous PWs got to be startling advocates for the martial arrange. They had seen American plenitude that wasn't zero-hole, thriving through generation instead of success. Their declaration that Americans might manage to modify adversaries affected German acknowledgement of American help. These men caught on that American control came from profitable capacity, not extraction. They had seen a society affluent sufficient to squander nourishment, whereas battling a worldwide war. This mental show, creation instead of victory, molded West Germany's financial approach. The German financial supernatural occurrence of the 1950s was in part built on information picked up in American jail camps. Previous PWs who had seen American generation strategies, conveyance frameworks, and buyer plenitude connected these lessons to German remaking. They had learned that mass generation may make extravagances reasonable. Standardization empowered quality and proficiency. Customer wealth made political solidness. Mechanical majority rule government might outproduce dictator control. These lessons learned through Coca-Cola and ice cream molded an era of German commerce and political pioneers. The change of German PWS through American nourishment wealth is reported in military officer records, worldwide Ruddy Cross reports, corporate generation records, especially Coca-Cola chronicles, PW journalists, sense of a protected, post-war interviews and journals. Scully considers, especially Arnold Kramer's broad investigate. Arnold Kramer, the driving student of history of German PSWs in America, concluded that nourishment wealth was central to ideological change. His inquiry about affirmed that casual American bounty finished what formal re-education programs couldn't total annihilation of Nazi predominance myths. The measurable rundown, the numbers tell an undeniable story. Normal P utilization, 1943 to 1946. Day-by-day calories, 3,300 to 3,600. Sugar 4 month to month accessible. Meat 32 ounce week after week. Drain 1 quart day-by-day accessible. Ice cream served routinely amid summer. Delicate drinks boundless at 5 cents each. German civilian portions, same period. Everyday calories, 1,200 to 1,500. Sugar, 280 g monthly when accessible. Meat 10.50 week after week, regularly inaccessible. Drain extremely proportioned. Ice cream non-existent. Delicate drinks non-accessible. These incongruities weren't purposeful publicity, but recorded reality. Faux detainees ate superior than German civilians, demonstrating American plenitude expanded indeed to vanquished adversaries. The P involvement with American nourishment culture affected post-war Germany significantly. Coca-Cola returned to West Germany in 1949, getting to be an image of American union. Ice cream parlors modeling American pop wellsprings showed up in German cities. Sweet bars and chewing gum got to be images of recuperation. Previous detainees of war regularly got to be merchants of American nourishment items, understanding their offer from individual involvement. They knew these items spoken to more than taste. They symbolized wealth, majority rule government, and advancement. The presentation of grocery stores to Germany within the 1950s was championed by previous PWs who had seen American basic supply stores. They caught on that equitable wealth required unused dispersion strategies, not fair generation increments. In different post-war interviews and journals, German PSWs reliably distinguished nourishment wealth as transformative. A previous Africa Corps officer expressed in the 1975 meet, "We anticipated to overcome a powerless, isolated America. Instep, we found a country that might deliver ice cream to foes. That's when we knew we had misplaced more than a war. We had misplaced our whole world sea." Another experience met for a narrative in 1985 reviewed, Might have begun with Coca-Cola, was like drinking end of the... It was sweet, bubbling, totally pointless, and accessible to anybody for a nickel. That drink contained everything Nazi Germany wasn't. Inexhaustible, law-based, happy. These declarations collected over decades affirmed that American nourishment wealth accomplished what military overcome alone couldn't: total ideological change. The men who arrived as Nazi warriors cleared out as witnesses to law-based thriving. Students of history recognize the German P involvement in America as strikingly fruitful re-education through wealth instead of purposeful publicity. The program succeeded since it depended on perception instead of instruction. PS saw American society working at crest efficiency, whereas treating adversaries with respect. The nourishment viewpoint was significant since it was all-inclusive. Everybody gets a starvation and fulfillment evident. Weight pickup and well-being enhancement were unmistakable. Persistent 3 dinners by day additionally canteen buys. Comparative detainees knew German hardship personally. Each feast got to be a lesson in American mechanical capacity. Each Coca-Cola illustrated standardization and conveyance. Each ice cream sundae appeared that plenitude can be law-based. Children of detainees were developed up hearing almost American plenitude in jail camps. These stories, at first appearing phenomenal, were approved as West Germany recouped and American items got to be accessible. The mythology of American bounty, born in jail camps, molded eras of German-American relations. Numerous P children afterward considered or worked in America, drawn by their father's stories of incomprehensible wealth. They found the reality coordinated the stories. General stores supplied with assortment. Soda fountains serving sundaes. Sweet paths advertising handfuls of choices. This multi-generational effect amplified past people. West German trade culture ingested lessons almost customer plenitude, quality standardization, and law-based markets. The financial supernatural occurrence wasn't almost generation, but approximately making plenitude for conventional citizens. Nowadays, McDonald's works over 1,400 eateries in Germany. Coca-Cola is omnipresent. Ice cream is standard. The chain from shortage to plenitude, started in American jail camps, is total. However, the verifiable lesson remains capable. Ideological change through wealth instead of hardship, thoughtfulness instead of remorselessness, show instead of publicity. The German PS who couldn't accept ice cream and Coca-Cola in American jail camps witnessed democracy's extreme weapon, the capacity to make such wealth that it may be casually shared with foes. The story of German PS and American nourishment well speaks to history's most bizarre triumph, a war won through liberality, and philosophy crushed by ice cream, a world sea smashed by delicate drinks. These men experienced change not through discipline, but through bounty. They arrived accepting in German prevalence and American shortcoming. They cleared out understanding that American quality came from profitable capacity, so endless it might squander assets without concern. The society that may deliver Coca-Cola to detainees for 5 cents had control past military might. The ice cream sundae with its layers of abundance ice cream, syrup, whipped cream, nuts, cherry, got to be a representation for American wealth. Each component alone surpassed German dreams. Combined, they spoke an outlandish extravagance made routine, that enemies seem order seconds, whereas German children confronted hunger, revealed the totality of Nazi disappointment. Previous PS regularly reviewed particular minutes of disclosure. To begin with Coca-Cola's bubble, the primary spoonful of ice cream, the primary nibble of a Hershey bar. These tangible recollections carried more control than any contention. They had tasted majority rule government, and it was sweet. The change was total and irrevocable. Men who had walked the Third Reich returned as apostles of plenitude, carrying a progressive message that success came from flexibility, not victory. They had learned that America's mystery weapon wasn't military might, but the capacity to deliver ice cream to foes. In conclusion, the bottles of Coca-Cola and dishes of ice cream served in American jail camps accomplished what armed forces might, as it were endeavor, the total change of foe hearts and minds. The German PS who couldn't accept such wealth existed became its most noteworthy witnesses. Carrying domestic the truth that vote-based system tasted like chocolate and flexibility bubbled like carbonation. Their story reminds us that some of the time the most prominent triumphs are won not through devastation, but through show, not through taking, but through giving, not through contempt, but through the basic act of serving ice cream to adversaries on a hot summer day. The men who experienced American wealth as detainees got to be freedom's most improbable ministers, changed until the end of time by the outlandish reality of Coca-Cola and ice cream in American jail camps. It would be ideal if you,